welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do some work on the 2.5 GSI. It's going to be involving the rear suspension bushes, which are the trailing arm bushes. Got a set here from PPS, which are listed for the SAAB 95, exactly the same bushes as you find in the VECTRA B. We're going to be taking off the bushes, this arm here, going to be dropping it down and replacing the bushes that sit up in there, because they're completely worn out. Pretty common thing on these, cause probably tracking on the back, where the tyres unevenly make a noise, and going over like speed bumps and stuff like that. Generally just let the suspension arm move in and out, whereas it should be pretty solid and just move up and down. So no special tools required for this job, unlike the rose joints which fit in the top here. One there and there's one underneath, so you've got two each side, four in total. They've all been done on this one. Again, the same as the SAAB 95. So without further ado, we shall crack on and get going with it. Okay, just looking from underneath, I'll show what we have to take off this in order to gain access to these bushes here. First of all, we've got the handbrake cable, which is attached via this E-bolt to a bracket which threads straight into the cast arm. That's to be removed, and that also carries the flexible brake line, which is braided on this one. There's a bracket there which we don't need to disturb, but I'm going to have to just take this zip tie off, which I've put on myself, and I do on all VECTRA Bs that I own, because that hole there on the SAAB 95 actually employs a rubber mounting which holds the cable out of the way on the SAAB, but they didn't bother doing it on the Opals and VAUXHALls, so this cable hangs down like that, and when you stood looking at the profile of that car you can see the cable hanging down. So just to replicate what the SAAB one does, just a simple zip tie just to bring it up a bit, just for tidiness really. There are 4 bolts, one there, and one there. Correct myself, actually 3 bolts then. The VECTRA C has 4 bolts. I think they're 18mm in head size. I think they're like an M12 thread or something like that. That'll bring this carrier down, then it'll gain access to the bolt that runs horizontally into the bush, and that will allow this arm to come out of it. And then it's a case of cutting off the collar which holds it into the arm, and then you're just pushing the polyurethane bushes. It's a lot easier and a lot more effective than fitting the original rubber bushes because they're absolute sod to fit, and they'll probably only last about 18 months or so before they start going the same way as the original. So I'll just get a pry bar and I'll show you the issue with these using the pry bar. So we get a bar in there. Let's see, there's a bit of movement that way, but then if you get the bar this way and aim it up there, substantial movement, and that bit actually touches there, creating a knocking noise. Now you don't hear a knocking when you're driving down the road, but you hear a creaking as the arm articulates and rotates within the rubber bush. It's the same story on this side as well. The condition of the roads and the age of the rubber just contributes to this problem. Exactly the same. If you look how much that moves, I won't be able to get it on camera, but that shifts the wheel a good couple of millimeters as you're going down the road, which at like high speed braking and stuff like that, it can affect the stability. And if you're on uneven surfaces or a wet road, it all makes a big difference if you've got knackered bushes as opposed to ones in good fettle. Right, I shall clean off the heads of these Torx bolts and carefully remove them. They're M6 thread, I think. Oh, there might be an M8. I'm hoping they're not going to shear off, which sometimes they do in the SAABs. We've had them where they just shear off and you have to drill and retap them to put new bolts in. But fingers crossed that won't be an issue today. Let's get a wire brush on that to reveal the shape and size of this bolt head. I'm not wearing goggles, but sometimes it is advisable to wear goggles when using a wire brush to stop debris going in your eyes. Same on the other side. I'll tell you something, I just caught my head on the edge of this ramp arm again, which is like razor sharp. When that thing cracks the top of your skull, you know about it. I keep meaning to get a grinder with a flat wheel and just smooth off the edges. Oh god, right. WD-40. I know this isn't really going to penetrate the threads as such, but if it gets in between any like microscopic gaps in the surface, it'll help lubricate it. I think access maybe from behind, might get into the top of the thread, same on the other side. I've done a few VECTRAs before and I've never had them shear off on the VECTRA, but we have seen it on a 9.5 before. I think the quality of the steel on the VECTRAs is slightly better than the SAABs use, because the SAABs are generally younger than these and the quality of the steel wasn't as good on later model GM cars as it is on the earlier ones, such as the Mark IV Astras, where the underside is basically exactly the same design as a Mark V, but the Mark V Astras don't fare half as well as the Mark IVs. Like subframes and suspension arms and stuff. Okay, oh look at that, nice, easy, straight off. Now these bolts are perfectly fine to use again. If I can find some decent Torx headed bolts, I may replace them, but they're not bad at all, those. I'll put them on the ramp arm, do the other one. A little bit tighter, but it's still coming off though. I'm not using power tools on this at the moment because stuff like this, to save a few seconds, it's not worth snapping the head off them. Just take your time with it. I mean, when you're putting them back on, you can use power tools because you know that the thread's good, but there's an unknown quantity. Before you start loosening it, don't just whack power tools on stuff. Not a good idea. Right, so that will release that bracket there. There we go, handbrake cable's free, flexi brake pipe's free. Okay, and that will give us the movement we need on the arms. I might actually take the anti-roll bar bolts out there at the top. That will give us a bit more movement, because when you are pulling these arms down, they are under a bit of tension. So I might do that. I have had these up before because I polybushed the inner D bushes on the rear anti-roll bar, and that went really well. Some people say that polybushing causes road noise and hard ride and stuff like that. I think if you have a decent enough chassis on a car, the standard, then you know you don't have to worry about like horrendous like bangs and knocks and road noise and stuff. The only cars that probably affects is, like, for example, my neighbour had his XR3i convertible and he polybushed the full rear end and it was horrendous. But that's a lot lighter car, and it wasn't as isolated into the body shell where the suspension sits, so you're going to get more noise and stuff. But something like this is not going to be an issue. Right, so the next step will be getting an air gun with an 18 socket and getting these big chunky bolts out here. Now these don't usually give an issue, so hopefully these will come straight off. 3 each side. I may just mark with a bit of Tipex where the bracket's sat, just so I can get an idea where it lines up. Because they are adjustable for toe in and toe out, if you're going that far to doing that for the tracking, whereas if you can adjust it if you've had issues with the suspension, like it's been in an accident or something. But if we put them back in exactly the same place they came off, there won't be an issue. And I've done it many times before and I've always found it to work, just marking them. So just between the bodywork and the bracket, just a line of Tipex. This Tipex has had it, I think. Give it a shake up. And it's probably about as accurate as you're going to get to lining it up where it originally was from the factory. So I'll do that. I'll go and get a socket and a gun and a pair of snips for these zip ties. Always sirens going off around here. Okay, one zip tie done. I've used a 10mm wide zip tie on these. I didn't use the cheap thin ones. Okay, let's go. There we go, straight off, and these have a nice coating of wax oil on, or like rust protectant from the factory, which is inside the chassis rails, which is why these don't rot too badly on the chassis sections, and it helps free off the bolts when you need to do work like this. There we go, got threads like new. A lot of modern vehicles built within the past 10 years or so, you take them apart and they're nowhere near as good as this to disassemble. Right, if you just shine the camera in there, you can see the bush. There it is, tucked into there. As I thought, this anti-roll bar is stopping it coming down a bit, so I may just release that with the I think 15mm bolt there to stop the bar pulling on itself from either side. Right, let's do this side of the suspension. Also to note, if you're not used to working underneath the car doing like this, say it's like a project you're just starting out on and you're not familiar working under cars, when you're using air tools and stuff, you've got to be careful of debris, soil and bits of rust going in your eyes and stuff. It's just like an automatic reflex. I just close my eyes when doing this type of thing because I've been doing it so long. Every now and again it still catches you out though. Like 3 bolts nicely released. Coming down quite easily there. That bracket is just catching there. So if I pull that down, maybe I should release the anti-roll bar. Let's have a look. Oh, there we go. The bolts just fell off the ramp arm. Right. Just a case of the cable just catching the bracket there. So I'll release that. The inner bracket on the car bodywork. There we go. There we go, I've got good access now. And I think I may release a 15 or 16mm bolt. So what that is, there's a 16mm just there. Right, let's see if that's giving us any wiggle room. Oh yeah, that's much easier. Right, so as you can see now, we have access to the transverse bolt and that bush. Get this bracket. Look at the movement in that. Just move the camera from behind so I can film it from behind. If you look at that movement, that is absolutely shocking. Not unusual though, you know, a lot of cars suffer this. And a lot of time they don't get checked properly on the MOTs and stuff, so it doesn't make a big difference changing them. I've seen worse than this, obviously. You know, Mondeo came in the other day, I think he'd had worn bushes like this and he'd gone down a pothole and it had ripped it out and it had actually disintegrated the bushing inside, and it was rattling around within the housing, so we fitted some bushes to that as well, which is a lot harder to do because you can't just pull them down like this. You've got to take the whole arm off to replace those. Wow. Right, so the next step is a bit of WD-40 on the back of this. It's a nut and bolt with a 18mm that side and an 18mm on the other side. Spray some on the thread of the nut. Same on that side. Floor's full of potholes, so the WD-40 fell over. Right, I shall put the air gun on the nut side, because if for any reason the bolt is seized, then you put it on the bolt side, you can just shear the head straight off the bolt, and then you're in a world of pain then trying to get the seized bolt out. Spanner on there, trying to do this one-handed. Come on, bit of rust on it, but it's still there. There we go. Right, that's nut off, easy enough. Okay, nut and bolt, pretty good nick. Place it on the floor. Pull this down, slide the bracket off. And now we should reveal what the bush is really like. Let's see if we can pull the centre out of it. Oh yeah. It's pretty much fallen apart. Now when I bought this car, these weren't that bad. And that was like 2 years ago. But live in an area where you've got speed bumps, quite big ones, and you've got to go up and down them many times a day, so that's thousands of times within the space of a couple of years. And that takes its toll on these bushes, so if they are a bit weak, they appear in good condition, you can finish them off in no time. I say these weren't this bad when we purchased this car, but I would have done them straight away. So I'm releasing the rubber now, or trying to, because inside there there's a aluminium collar which grips onto the rubber bush, and that has to be taken out before we can put the polyurethane ones in. So I'll have to slice a section there and probably another section, shrink it in on itself and just pull it out, give it a bit of a sand, loads of silicone grease, and the new polyurethane bush is going in two parts, one half and then the other half clips onto the end with a stainless steel tube collar in the middle, then you put the cap back on the cage. All sounds very simple, so I'll try and make it look as simple as possible. Right, we'll move on to the other side. Same story with this. Just release this cable from the bodywork without really slicing my finger open. Hopefully I've not. Pull that right down. I may release that 16mm anti-roll bar on this side as well. Or if you're an American viewer, they're called sway bars. There we go, let's go right down now. Excellent. When you're pulling down and stuff like this as well, make sure you don't damage any rigid brake lines that you may split, or stress any flexi brake lines on the ferrules, because the brackets off on this is not too much issue with it, and these bits have been replaced with copper on the hard lines, so they're quite flexible, so we're okay on this one. Right, so I'll just release this side. Same deal again. 18mm extension on the air gun. Make sure the spanner is properly located on the head of the bolts. I'm going to push it all the way home so it doesn't slip off and take your fingers off. This one is going to go upwards, so I should grab it that way. Right, that one again, it's coming apart nicely. Take the spanner off, slide the bolts out, pull the arm down, release the cage, it's off. There we go. We'll see how bad this one is. Just as bad as the other side, really. The fact that it can spin at all is bad enough. There we go, straight out. So you see aluminium inserts, rubber on the outside. The rubber just falls apart because it's got gaps in between for like flex to stop, you know, theoretical road noise and stuff like that. Even though I've had these bushes on my own cars and I haven't noticed any difference in road noise. If anything, the handling improves and the ride quality actually improves because you've got less movement on the axle. Right, now we've got the time where we've got to get this collar out, so I'm going to use this air hacksaw, which is just a reciprocating hacksaw. It'll just cut through the collar enough for us to shrink it down and pull it out. So you've got to wear goggles for this, because I tried it once using a jigsaw and it spat a load of shards of metal in my eye and it hurt for about 3 days afterwards, so don't take any chances with this. I must say the lighting in this workshop is absolutely shocking. Right, just bent the end of that thing, just straighten it out, make sure you don't burn yourself because it can get hot. There we go, like new. Okay, you've got to continue this from the other side, make sure you get completely all the way through the bush. Okay, and it looks pretty much like it's all the way through there, so if you just follow me from the other side here. I shall get a hammer and a chisel and I'll knock it up there and hopefully it should come out. Won't be a second. Bearing in mind these arms are flexing a bit, so it may take the shock out me actually hitting this. Okay, it's peeling it away there nicely. Need to hit it harder than that though. Rest it on there. If you could just push that there. No, with the palm of your hand quite hard. No, not there, man. That's it. That's it, hold it there. Push it against the car. That's it. It's getting there. Nearly there. It is moving. But the bush is actually on the car there, which I've just noticed. So, if you could just push it upwards. Put your hand that way. That's it, and push upwards. Don't let it come towards us though. I suppose this is why people buy lease cars, so they don't have to do this type of shit. Oh, God. On a Sunday afternoon. Oh, nearly out, look at that. Nearly out. Come on. It's out, it's just grabbing the other side there. The bush is out, it's just fighting. Knock it there. Just hold that cable out the way with you, please. Thank you. Oh, God almighty. Come on. Jeez. Right. This is really being a sod. Come on. Come on. My God, I won't fight like this before. Oh my God. Right, pair of mold grips on that thing. Jeez, right. What we're taking out there, that's like the inner section. There seems to be another section in there as well. Right, so I took out the steel bit, there is an alloy bit still stuck in there, but that'd be like tissue paper, that would cut through that dead easy. Right, again with the air hacksaw, without the light in my eyes. Not the easiest thing to film, I know. Let's try it, come on. There we go, taking a section out there. Should allow this to squash down and pull out quite easily. Wait for that god-awful compressor to stop powering up. There we go. That's the alloy section. So the inside of that, it's got a slightly beveled edge on it. You need to clean that up. A bit of sandpaper, get the oxidization from the aluminium off the steel so the new bush sits nicely. When you're cutting through these as well, don't go too far and end up cutting into the arm and making a big split in it, otherwise you have to weld it or put another arm on. So you just got to be careful with it. Right, I'm going to do the same with the other side, but I'm not going to film it because there's no point, because it's exactly the same job as this. So next few minutes we're going to be putting the new bushes back in. Okay, so it's got calcium build up on the inside of the arm there, that white stuff. Tried to get it off with sandpaper by hand, so I'm going to have to use this power sander because it just wasn't cutting the mustard, so I have to get through it with this. There we go, straight off with that. There's loads in there. Load on the other side. If you're looking at a clock, it's like from 9 o'clock all the way up to like 1 o'clock on the round bit there. So do it all the way around there. Oxidized aluminium. So that side done, I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm not going to film it, it's the same procedure. Okay, now we're going to unbag these new bushes. So you've got PP Sweden written on them, Professional Part Sweden. Let's push that centre out. Okay, so you have a wide end and a slim end. The wide end goes towards the outside of the car, same on each side. So So before we put these bushes in, get some silicone grease, which is for use on rubbers and plastics. Normally used for assembling brake parts and suspension bushes, stuff like this. Smear it on the inside there, smear it on the inside where the collar's going to slide through, and same on the other bush, on the outside there, on the face of it. There's anything that's going to be making contact, we don't want it squeaking and rubbing. Then we just go over to the arm, one side in there, make sure it fits flush. There we go, pretty straightforward. Same on the other side. 1,000 times easier than putting in those crappy rubber bushes. We'll get the steel collar. Bit of grease on this. And just slide it in. There we go. It's as easy as that. And I put some on the face because if it comes into contact with the cage it sits over it. If it's dry it may start rubbing. Because the other bush flexed on the rubber, it twisted back and forth, and that's why they end up splitting and breaking. But these will rotate on that collar there, or the outer bit may rotate slightly, which may sound strange with regards to how the original one works, but that's just how they're designed. Every single bush, no matter what make you get it, polyurethane, that's how they work. So same on the other side. I may not even have to take this steel collar out in this one. In fact I will do because I'm going to put some grease on it, so push it out. It's pretty stiff actually, this one. I need to push it on something. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyway, I'll grease this one. I'm going to stand behind me here because it's getting in the shadow now. See all the lights on it now, yeah? There we go. Oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, if you're in the US, for any reason watching this, this is the same suspension setup as the Saturn L-series, the L200 and 300, which is similar floor pan to the SAAB 95 on the VECTRA B. So if you by chance have one of those, then these bushes will also fit that model as well. So because they're a bit of an oddball model, you may not get them listed for that, for the polyurethane ones, but obviously for the SAABs they do. Right, push that through. Okay, that colour got released finally. Get off. There you go, a bit of silicone grease on this. Same procedure for this side. Inside part of the suspension arm is nicely cleaned up. The beveled edge is nice and smooth. Got grease all over me now, fantastic. Put that in there. Make sure it sits nice and flush. And push the collar in from this side. There we go. And then what we do now is put this cage over. For which I remember the bolts went in from this side with the nut on the inside of the car. There we go, just making doubly sure the cage is on the right way around, which it is, because it will fit on either way. It's just a case of bolting this back up. And I'll put that up in 2 minutes because I've got to change my gloves because I've got grease all over them. Okay, now we're coming to reassemble the bushes. So as you can see there, the bush is in the bracket and it swivels nice and free. I need to tighten up this bolt and the nut. And then it's time to put the 3 bolts in that hold the plate in underneath. If you hold it on the bolt side again and do it on the nut side, there's a better chance of it tightening up better than if you do the bolt side. Okay, so that's done. Still rotates, and it'll be spinning the collar inside the bush. So that's how it works on these. that up there. Move the bracket so it aligns with the bodywork, just at a slight angle. Take one of the bolts, place it in the socket, hold the bracket up, a couple of clicks, get them all in loosely before you do one up tight, otherwise they won't line up properly. Third one. See, I'll just turn that light off. Okay, so we need to align the bracket up to where it was before. And it's quite a way off on this side. The other side was easy to line up. So I may have to use a pry bar to align the bracket up to where it should be, whilst tightening the bolt up. Let's have a look. There we go. So that there is exactly where it was before because of the Tipp-Ex mark. So that one's pretty tight now. Do the others up. Align this front one. There we go. Well, it's gone off again now. A bit more juggling with this side than the other one. Okay, so they're all tight now. Good indication to check whether it's in the same place or not is the marks left by the bolts when they were previously attached, and these are all perfectly lined up, so we know the bracket on the arm and the bush is exactly where it should be. Okay, next job is to put this back in there. Give it a tap with a hammer to tighten that bracket holding the cable in place. Basically these just bend down and you're just going to bend them back up again. There we go, that's nice and tight. It all looks a bit rough and ready doing this, but this is the proper way to do it. Next step is to get this little bolt back in, which is fine to use again. I'm going to put a bit of oil on the end of the thread just to assist it into the hole. Just a bit of 530s engine oil. Put this bracket down. Put it back underneath there. This side seems to be fighting more than the other side. So watch. There we go. Right. Okay, so this hard line's got trapped behind the anti-roll bar bracket there. There we go. Right, now it'll line up. It's a right hash of a design this. You've got brake lines, ABS lines, anti-roll bar linkages, handbrake cables all into one section here. And I've misplaced the bolt for it, which I cannot find. There is it. Right, okay. Now that should line up. There we go. Right, we've finally got this bracket on. I had to release it from here again with a bolt to get the handbrake cable back on with a spring and then pull it back on again to put the bolt in. I'm just putting this zip tie on just to hold this cable up, stop it hanging down. There we we go, just tidies that up a bit. Okay, and that's that. That's it, finished, done. It's a job finished. Right, before I let this down, I'm going to get some underseal and just spray on around where I've had the bolts off and where the brackets cut the bodywork and exposed a bit of metal there, which is inevitable unless you spend loads of time putting rags and stuff or tape on there to stop catching it. Make sure the brake lines aren't catching anything. Oh, one more thing before I go. Just need to put this anti-roll bar bolt back in, which is that one there. Let's line that up, 16mm bolt, M10 thread. So basically this is the replacement for the VAUXHALL Cavalier Mark III, and on the VECTRA B, obviously this is that replaced it. The Cavalier used the twist beam axle, which a lot of people have criticised for being basic and simple and everything, but to be honest with you, I think it's a much better setup than this. You only have two bushes on it. You've got the bush there and the bush on the other side on the twist beam axle, and that's it. You don't have any anti-roll bar links, you don't have any rose bushes, you don't have a separate shocker with a big plate that holds it to the bodywork and all the other stuff. This just adds complication to the mix. It probably does handle a bit better with this type of setup on it, but the amount of work you have to do to maintain it is absolutely ridiculous with regards to bushes and stuff like that. And link arms, you've got two link arms on it, you've got upper, lower. You've got a separate bracket for the anti-roll bar there. It's got a separate subframe on this, which adds more bushes to it. You've got one there, two on the other side as well. And to be honest with you, the ride quality of the VECTRA B is absolutely shocking compared to the Cavalier. It may handle better, but it certainly doesn't ride better. So you've got to keep your ear out. If you're doing a lot of mileage in these, they do wear through these rose bushes quite fast, so it's always best to use best quality ones so you get a few years out of them. Again, you need a special tool to replace these, so and there's no upgrades for them, unfortunately. Right, and that's the last bolt for this one. Right, so this should ride a lot quieter now on the back, because when these bushes are worn, they're making creaking noises and other such funny things going on. And these will last probably the life of the car now. They don't tend to wear out. So I'll come back to this video in a few minutes. I'm going to drop it down and get it on the floor. Now, just before I drop it on the floor, I'm using this stuff called Kent Rubber Guard. I don't know if you can buy it as the general public. We get it via the trade. It's basically like a rubberized underseal. It doesn't have any antioxidant properties in it or anything like that. It's just basically like a stone guard that dries like rubber. So it's good for protecting stuff that isn't like rotten, but stuff that's got like exposed surface areas on it. It just stops the road salt getting on it, like brake line ferrules and such. Any exposed bodywork that hasn't corroded yet, you can just put a bit on. There you go, just keeps the road salt off. Put some on that handbrake bracket underneath, because that's been flexed and it's broken the paint on it, just to stop it being fully exposed. Same on the other side. Brake line ferrules. Some on the other side of this bracket. And the sill. There we go. Right, and that'll do for that then. It's time to put the wheels back on, drop it on the deck, and see what other job we're going to be doing on it. So thank you everybody who's watched this video. Decided to do it today because the weather is unseasonably warm. It's like October the 8th or 9th, I think it is today. Sunday the 8th I think, and it's like what, 20 degrees or something, dry. So it's a bit more encouraging doing work after work in your own cars when the weather's a bit better. So that job's done. Hopefully that'll be an improvement on the way the car drives. The next job on the list is going to be the suspension strut tops, because on the MOT I noticed there's a little bit of play in them, not a lot though. They were replaced 2 years ago, but the same story. They're particularly poor design on these, same as you get in a Corsa C and Mariva and Astra Mark 4 and stuff, when you end up replacing them like every 18 months or something. So I've got them in stock. I'm using them Forder strut tops when I'll be doing that job, and they're like probably one of the best you can get. So that's going to be the next job on the list. So thank you all for watching, and I shall see you next time. Please like and subscribe, and look forward to sharing another video with you.